Dennis Mortimer had what many would call a tragic life. Not because he lacked success, but because his greatest triumphs were followed by bitter betrayals and fights that would define his legacy just as much as his trophies. Picture this. May 1982 in Rotterdam. Mortimer lifts the European Cup above his head as Aston Villa's captain after beating Bayern Munich. He's at the absolute peak of English football, but just 3 years later, on what should have been his night of honour, he'd be told his services were no longer needed. How did Villa's greatest captain go from European glory to being cast aside by his own club? The story starts long before the controversy. Dennis George Mortimer began his career in Liverpool before making his mark at Coventry City. He spent 6 solid years with the Sky Blues, racking up over 200 first-team appearances. His performances earned him 6 caps for England under-23 and 3 for England B. Top clubs took notice of this talented midfielder who could control games and inspire teammates. On Christmas Eve 1975, Aston Villa paid £175,000 to bring Mortimer to Birmingham. This was significant money at the time, showing how highly Villa rated him. His impact was immediate. In his debut against West Ham United, he provided 2 assists and won over the home crowd instantly. Looking around Villa Park with 52,000 fans packed in, he thought, "Blooming heck, this is some club." But disaster struck early. In just his 4th game, Newcastle United's Malcolm MacDonald launched a late challenge that inflicted the 4th knee ligament injury of Mortimer's career. This wasn't just bad luck. It was a recurring nightmare that had already threatened his career multiple times. For most players, this would have been devastating. But Mortimer's ability to overcome this recurring setback showed his incredible mental strength and professional dedication. His recovery and rise to captain transformed what could have been a career-ending moment into proof of his remarkable character. Under manager Ron Saunders, Mortimer was quietly handed the captain's armband before the 1978-79 season. He never gave it back. This appointment wasn't ceremonial. Saunders recognised leadership qualities that would prove essential to Villa's success. Leading from the front, he guided Villa to the First Division title in 1980-81. Mortimer called this his greatest achievement because it required sustained excellence over 42 gruelling games, week after week, maintaining focus and determination. This triumph earned them a place in the European Cup, where the real magic happened. The pinnacle came in May 1982. As captain, Mortimer lifted the European Cup after that 1-0 victory over Bayern Munich in Rotterdam. It cemented his place in Villa folklore forever. He had fulfilled his lifelong dream of winning trophies and becoming part of a great club's history. In total, as captain, he won the First Division, European Cup, Football League Cup, European Super Cup, and shared the FA Charity Shield. His Villa career stats tell the story. 406 appearances, 36 goals across a decade of service. But success breeds expectation, and expectation breeds conflict. Just 6 months after the European Cup triumph, Doug Ellis returned as Villa chairman in November 1982. This wasn't Ellis's first rodeo with controversy at Villa. He'd been ousted from the board in 1972, resigned again in 1975, and left after a protracted power struggle with another shareholder in 1979. His return was met with deep scepticism from within the club. Mortimer's reaction to Ellis's return was immediate disappointment. He believed no good would come of his return for himself or the fans. The clash wasn't just personal, it was philosophical. Mortimer described Ellis's management style as driven by ego and lacking ambition, representing a fundamental difference in how they viewed the club's future. Ellis found Villa saddled with significant debts and facing police inquiries about fraudulent financial activity related to North Stand construction. As a businessman, Ellis prioritised reducing costs and stabilising finances. He told the manager to reduce the playing staff and informed players they'd have to take pay cuts. The result? The European Cup winning squad was systematically dismantled as key players weren't adequately replaced. Mortimer saw this as a fundamental lack of ambition. While Ellis focused on financial pragmatism, Mortimer believed in sporting excellence and maintaining the standards that had brought European success. This financially driven strategy directly led to the team's decline and ultimate relegation in 1987, just 5 years after their European triumph. The Mortimer-Ellis feud represented a battle for the club's very soul, pitting sporting ambition against corporate cost-cutting. The end came swiftly and brutally. After Tony Barton was replaced by Graham Turner ahead of the 1984-85 season, Villa's decline accelerated. Turner arrived planning to take the team in a different direction and began systematically getting rid of more European Cup winners. The writing was on the wall for Mortimer and the old guard. September 5, 1984 became the breaking point. Villa suffered a humiliating 5-0 home defeat to Nottingham Forest, one of the most embarrassing results in the club's recent history. Mortimer started the match but was substituted at half-time, a public humiliation for the club captain. This poor performance, following a series of other disappointing results, led to the perception that Mortimer and teammate Des Bremner were being made scapegoats for the team's broader struggles. Mortimer barely played that season. His last league appearance came in October 1984, effectively ending his Villa career with a whimper rather than the fanfare his achievements deserved. But the most heartbreaking moment was still to come. May 14, 1985. Should have been a celebration. Mortimer played his final game in claret and blue, a testimonial against an England IMD at Villa Park. It was meant to honour a decade of incredible service and success. The emotional night saw fans celebrating their captain's achievements, lifting him into the air in appreciation. But as the celebrations wound down, he was coldly informed that his contract wouldn't be renewed, and he was free to leave on a free transfer. This announcement on the very night meant to celebrate him represents one of football's cruelest moments. It wasn't just a business decision. It was a profoundly disrespectful act that symbolised the cold corporate direction the club had taken under Ellis. The contrast between the emotional fan celebration and the clinical business dismissal perfectly captured the disconnect between the club's heritage and its new leadership. Perhaps the most frustrating aspect of Mortimer's career was his treatment by England's national team selectors. Despite captaining a team to both the First Division title and European Cup, he never earned a single senior cap for his country. He was recognised at lower levels with 9 total caps for England under-23 and England B teams, even captaining the B team. He sat on the bench for senior home internationals in 1981, but never got on the pitch. During his peak years from 1981-1984, England was managed by Ron Greenwood and Bobby Robson, who had an abundance of midfield talent. Players like Brian Robson earned 90 caps, Ray Wilkins got 84, Glenn Hoddle received 53, and Trevor Brooking earned 47. While these were undoubtedly talented players deserving of their places, Mortimer's complete omission over 3 years suggests possible systematic issues in the selection process. The fact that a player who captained a team to the pinnacle of both English and European football was consistently overlooked represents a historic anomaly. It's plausible that selectors showed bias toward players from more traditionally glamorous clubs in London and Manchester, or prioritised different playing styles. Regardless of the reason, Villa fans still see this as a major injustice that deprived Mortimer of deserved international recognition. After retiring, Mortimer remained in football as a coach, PFA officer, and pundit. He became known for outspoken commentary that didn't always please everyone. But one incident in April 2006 caused particular uproar among Villa supporters. He stated he'd rather see relegation-threatened Birmingham City win the second City derby against Villa. Initially seen as shocking disloyalty to his former club, his full comments revealed a more principled motive. He wasn't endorsing the rival club, but criticising what he perceived as complacency at Villa under Ellis's continued leadership. He argued that supporters had lowered their expectations to the point where simply beating local rivals was considered a successful season. A club with Villa's history should aspire to win trophies and compete in Europe, echoing the same philosophy that had defined his playing career. Despite initial backlash from hardcore Villa fans, time and a change in ownership under Randy Lerner helped heal the rift. The standing ovation Mortimer received at the 25th anniversary celebration of the European Cup win in 2007 showed many supporters had forgiven him and come to understand the principle behind his words. The final and most meaningful act of reconciliation came in January 2024, when Mortimer was named to Villa's honorary anniversary board ahead of their 150th anniversary season. This gesture from the club's current leadership represents full official acceptance of his legacy and vindication of his ambitious ideals, acknowledging that his past criticisms were rooted in deep loyalty to the club's potential for greatness. Dennis Mortimer's story is extraordinary because it shows that true greatness extends far beyond trophies and medals. He was a champion who never stopped fighting for his club's best interests, even when it meant being at odds with leadership and, at times, supporters. His personal battles, overcoming career-threatening injuries, navigating the tumultuous politics of the Doug Ellis era, standing firm in his principles against mediocrity, make his achievements even more remarkable. His legacy isn't defined only by the silverware he lifted, but by the integrity he displayed and ambitious ideals he championed throughout his career. The unceremonious end to his playing career on testimonial night stands as a stark reminder of the cold, corporate turn football was taking. Yet, his later principled stance against complacency demonstrated unwavering commitment to excellence. The appointment to Villa's honorary anniversary board brings his long and complex journey full circle. His place in club history isn't just secure, it's permanent and cherished by a new generation that understands his contributions. From lifting Europe's biggest prize to standing firm against mediocrity, Dennis Mortimer's life reminds us that true greatness means fighting for what you believe in, even when it costs you everything.